Yeah, I'm pale grey, all dust and fade. When I call for you, all I hear back is pain. Every song must end, even diamonds fade. When the darkness comes, I count up my mistakes. We were the thunder and the lightning, burn fires down and find the spark. I would spend it just to watch you twirl. It was us against the world. You were the rain falling on my skin. Yeah, I was dying when you pulled me in. I was your rebel and you were my girl. It was us against the world. We were the thunder and the lightning. I was your rebel and you were my girl. It was us against the world. We were the thunder and the lightning, burn fires down and find the spark. I would spend it just to watch you twirl. It was us against the world. You were the rain falling on my skin. Yeah, I was dying when you pulled me in. I was your rebel and you were my girl. It was us against the world. I had a feeling that you'd be with me when I took the fall. But I won't stop fighting. We'll take it higher till we hit the stars. We'll take it to the galaxy. We ain't never coming down. Take another look at me. Yeah, we're in the starlight now. We're in the starlight now. We're in the starlight now. in the starlight now.
I'm running away from the past I left behind. I'm looking for answers, but I'm blinded by the light. I'm lost in the music, and I stay here for the night. I promise I'll be gone in the morning, out of sight and out of mind. Out of sight and out of mind. keep running, but your legs are standing still. It's like you're stuck in a nightmare, but you keep doing it for the thrill. Well, this is reality, you only live it once, so wake up from your dream. But just for tonight, let the lines get blurred, let your thoughts be free, let your thoughts be free.
actions would result in nothing. Wish my friends and I could celebrate, but these plans keep falling through because there's always something. Say that you want me when I'm in the room. Then when I ask you, tell me it's too soon. Guess all your words were too good to be true. I'm done waiting, sick of saving all my hope tonight, 'cause your empty promises don't satisfy. No more compromise, 'cause I don't need you to act like we're alright. Act like we're alright. Act like we're alright. Call your number, never pick it up. Even though last week you said we'd spend the day together. Say you're sorry, but I've had enough. It's a toxic situation, you can't make it better. Say that you want me when I'm in the room. Then when I ask you, tell me it's too soon. Guess all your words were too good to be true. I'm done waiting, sick of saving all my hope tonight, 'cause your empty promises don't satisfy. No more compromise, 'cause I don't need you to act like we're alright. Act like we're alright. Too many chances at redemption. Think it's about time I learned my lesson. No more compromise, 'cause your empty promises don't satisfy.
This is what you made of love. The words are spoken, my heart is broken, keeping me tangled up in you. But I've had enough, and I won't keep coming undone, 'cause it's not over. I fought too hard to lose. I feel your pressure. Don't care if I'm getting bruised. It makes me stronger. I'm here to dominate.
Let's do this shit.
What is up, Level Up Nation, and Happy New Year, and welcome to the first ever show of 2020, currently occurring on January 4th. Welcome to Level Up Live, your home for gaming esports news, brought to you by OTN Media. What are you giggling about, Joey?
I'm pretty sure you said the first show of 2020.
Did I say 2020? It feels like 2020, right? It seriously feels like 2020 again. 2021, it feels like 2020 because guess what? New year, same webcam problems. So if you're a fan of the show, you've been watching for a while, I guess you already know who I am. My name's Fiasco. Hello. IRL name's John. What's poppin'? That dude right next to me, 2020 did not end on a good note for this man. So chat, I'm gonna need you guys to hype it up for him, please, because it is the king of the courtside making his return from his near brush with death. We're going to make it sound a lot cooler than what it really is. It is Joey. What's poppin', buddy?
Yeah, honestly, 2020 was a pretty good year overall for me. It wasn't super crazy, but yeah, the ending was a little rough. My wife does a lot of traveling, and she ended up catching COVID on one of her last trips. I think it was either Wisconsin or Colorado, but she did bring it back home as an early Christmas gift for me as well. So I got it. It's been great. A really fun experience. But seriously, guys, wear your masks. Be safe. Don't do anything stupid. I did end up catching it. I've recovered from it at this point. I'm cleared to enter back into society, but I am still coughing a bit here and there. So I'll try my best to mute, but we're still working our way through that little bit of a cough that comes out every once in a while. Other than that, John, things were good. I enjoyed the holiday. How about yourself?
My bad. I thought you were already done speaking. My apologies, sir. Well, Joey, my holidays depends upon who you ask. You'll get a different story. If you ask my boss, I was in Alaska for a wedding. If you ask anybody else, I was here in Virginia for a wedding. Good friend of the show, good friend of mine in real life, one of my best friends, Pudding Messiah. You may have seen him pop in here from time to time. He got married. He got married this past weekend to his fiance, now wife, Maria. So big congratulations to them. I was honored to be in the wedding party as the best man for that wedding. It was a fantastic experience. It was absolutely beautiful. So from everyone here at OTN Media to Pudding, aka Michael, his real life name, who better not be watching this show because you're supposed to be on your honeymoon right now. Congratulations on your marriage, and we wish you nothing but the best and future of happiness and love and all that fun stuff that we didn't talk about in 2020 because it felt like there was no love or happiness there. So wait to close out 2020 and ring in the new year. But Nation, you're here for gaming and esports news, which means you better be following Joey on Twitter because he's got all the spicy takes. He's got all the in-depth, hot, unreleased information on all your favorite video games and game developers and League of Legends rosters and all that fun stuff. This man knows people is what I'm trying to say. So if you're not following Joey on Twitter and Instagram at Courtside King, you're doing yourself a disfavor or a disservice, one of the two. And if you're not following me, and I'm pretty much just giving Joey a bunch of crap for all of his wrong predictions all the time on Twitter and Instagram. You should be following me if you want the spicy takes or the spicy rebuttals, if you will, for the King of the Court. So you can find me at Fiasco. And of course, you better be following the show. LvLUp Live is available on Twitter and Facebook at LvLUp Live at LvLUp Live. And Nation, as always, this show's available as a podcast version. Get out of here, right? It's 2021. Podcasts are still a thing. You can listen to the LvLUp Podcast available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And since you're listening on the podcast version already, leave us a really awesome review. It does go a long way, help giving us feedback to help make the show better for you, our viewers and listeners, and also helps grow and reach new listeners. So we do appreciate all reviews that we can get. Joey, Happy New Year, buddy. It is 2021. I got the date right this time. Feels like I'll be getting that wrong for the next month, so bear with me. Joey, what in the world are we talking about here on the first ever show of 2021?
Guys, we are diving into a lot of different things, but mainly looking ahead to 2021. What are the new features that we can look toward? What are the new games that are coming out that at least have been announced so far? And maybe diving a bit into some other games that haven't been announced or haven't been announced with release dates. So diving a bit into what we think could be coming with those. We have some content updates here and there, some Game Pass news, some new partnerships, and much more.
All right, we have our topics. Joey, it may be a new year, but some things don't change. And of course, I'm talking about the drink of choice. I'm going to go back to how I used to introduce it. It is the time-honored tradition passed down from generation to generation, spanning all the way back to, 2016? We can count 4 or 5 years now as a generation.
Gosh, I don't even know how long this podcast has been going.
Over 200 plus episodes and counting. We're almost to McDonald's status of 2 billion served. Joey, your drink of choice to kick off 2021, sir.
So I am going with another Christmas gift I got from Lindsay. Not COVID this time. There will be a little bit of that in tonight's show. But a Johan Needs a Bigger Broat, and that's with a R. Cool little thing from Aslan Beer Company. It's a double Indian pale ale brewed with Madagascar vanilla beans. You
had me until you said, look, one IPA
I know,
is
you're
bad
not
enough,
an IPA person.
But
they make
double?
IPAs different, though. They hit different, man. I can drink triples from this place.
Look, dude, one IPA is bad. A double IPA sounds like an absolute nightmare. Triple IPA, you might as well have me back at my real life job right now, and I absolutely hate that. We don't know how much I hate my
I'm just
IRL
telling you,
job.
Aslan hits differently. We're going to go one day and you're going to try some IPAs there. I think you'll have a different experience than you've had at other places.
Joey, first off, number one, you're not allowed back in public yet.
I am back in, I'm allowed to technically, but I am taking my time with my little cough here and there.
You're not going anywhere. And let's be real here. They're not going to let anybody in their brewery because that would taint the beer. And let's be real here. That'd be a waste of beer. We can't do that. But what we can do, Joey, is we can kick off 2021 the right way. And of course we can kick it off with gaming and esports. Oh, wait, I didn't even give my drink. Rum and Coke, baby. We're keeping it simple. We're keeping it classy in 2021. Joey, I'm going to kick it off the right way. Let's get right into gaming and esports news. Let's go.
Wow, guys, I'll be honest. I can really taste the vanilla in this. Like, that is definitely the overwhelming flavor. Hello. So it's like a little bit of ice cream with some IPA on the side over here, what we're drinking tonight. Oh, quiet down over there. Let's kick things off with industry acquisitions and departures. Dot Esports, John, they are making some serious moves, and in my opinion, winning the offseason, as the term in esports goes. They have picked up talent such as Jacob Wolf. He is now a chief reporter and investigative lead over there, known for his big LOL free agency moves. He made a lot of big coverage for that, made his name there for the last 2 or 3 seasons, and really took ESPN esports off the ground to kick things off over there as well. With it shutting down, he decided to look to new places, and he ended up on Dot Esports alongside Pablo Suarez, another new hire over there. Again, really made his name in free agency for League of Legends, diving in, making connections with sources. He grew really close to G2 over the time to bring some great connections there. And then Thomas Tishio coming over as well. So Dot Esports, again, they've done esports before. Jacob has been there before. And it's not like they've fallen off on coverage, but adding incredible talents like these guys here is going to be a big bolster for their content for sure.
Yeah, and it's no knock to Dot Esports. Like, they're great at what they do. When Jacob was there the first time, they were absolutely fantastic. But when you make that move to a international name like ESPN, when ESPN dipped their toes into esports, they claim they're still going to cover esports. I want to know how they're going to do that without a staff, but that's just me, Joey. And how they're going to do it without... Ooh, pardon me, Joey. Are you passing the COVID over to me now?
Digitally, sir. Digital transmission.
With Jacob going to ESPN, that brought mainstream notoriety for him. His base grew. I mean, he's already great at what he does. Now he's got the power of ESPN behind him. He was able to grow and expand and use that ESPN budget to really make a bigger name for himself. We saw his live streams for the free agency show. We really saw ESPN go down the right path before all of a sudden they put a brick wall in front of themselves, placed by ESPN, and decided to just get rid of everyone. So now the prodigal son returns, if you will. Jacob Wolf goes back to Dot Esports with this like international caliber of fame and reporting behind him. This is massive for Dot Esports. It's not just, oh, this is the next step in Jacob Wolf. This is now Jacob Wolf is bringing his pedigree, is bringing his experience, his following back to Dot Esports, plus everything he gained at ESPN. It's absolutely a massive, massive move for Dot Esports in rehiring Jacob Wolf. And I'm pretty sure it came with a pretty spicy pay increase too this time.
Yeah, I think the other thing to mention, guys, so if you guys don't follow too much on the esports article side or really the reporting for esports, Jacob Wolf is probably as top as you go. He's one of those guys that's built really well repertoire of connections. He knows how to get free agency moves before they get officially announced. He's really good at diving into the different, in a sense, secrets of the industry and breaking them down and what they mean and when they're going to occur. So he has just really made his name for himself, like John has been saying. And I think that's going to continue here at Dot Esports. Once again, going back there, kind of that LeBron to Cleveland move in a sense, going from Miami back to Cleveland. He's now making that move back to Dot Esports where he kicked off his career, and he's going to go ahead and dive things from there, hopefully bringing some more great esports content for us. And again, I think Pablo Suarez will be another big up-and-coming name as well. Epic Games, known for Fortnite over there, as well as Rocket League now under their umbrella, and a number of other things, including Unreal Engine. They've acquired the Cary Town Center, covering over 87 acres in Cary, North Carolina, and they're looking to transform it into their new headquarters by 2024. John, Epic is giant. They are, in a sense, epic. They're huge. They're massive. On top of that, that Fortnite following just continues to grow year and year again and again. It just feels like it's never going to end. there's always these fads they pass over. Fortnite has been that fad for years now, and it just continues to grow. And just like that, Epic Games, the parent company, continues to grow as well. And this is a huge headquarters. 87 acres is nothing small for sure.
I was taking myself off of mute. And yeah, Joey, I hear they're going to be subleasing one of their offices to OTN Media, which is really cool. I'm looking forward to the move to North Carolina. I hear the traffic down there is a lot better than it is here in the DMV. But no, this is massive. Like Epic Games staying in North Carolina. Now they're upgrading 87 acres. You know, it's absolutely massive. They've been expanding like madmen. Like they've expanded like the way Epic has grown in the past 4 or 5 years. Any company in the world would dream of. Essentially, they took Fortnite, a game that was a PvE game, made it into a battle royale, and just blew up. Then they acquire probably one of the hottest and should be top tier esport titles in Rocket League. And they're just making it grow and grow and grow. And then they open up the Epic Game Shop to compete with Steam. They're just absolutely crushing it. And I really don't like saying that, but they are. They're absolutely crushing it. And now they're moving to an 87 acre headquarter. I mean, that's absolutely massive. And it's only going to allow them to grow more and more and more. And really, it goes to show you how sustainable they are. Even during a time of economic downturn during the pandemic, they're still able to really kick butt and still continue to grow.
Absolutely. Am I frozen on your end, by the way?
You look fine on my end.
Okay, cool. It just froze for a second on mine. It must just be a little bit of an internet bloop. Misfits. They have partnered with Asus Republic of Gamers brand, naming the company as its official hardware supplier of its LEC team, its Call of Duty League team, and its Overwatch League team. In the LEC, that is Misfits Gaming. For Call of Duty League, that is the Florida Mutineers. And then for the Overwatch League, they are under the name of Florida Mayhem. Again, Misfits being one of those real premier esport brands out there. They continue to jump into these new titles. They jump into franchise leagues, like we just mentioned, those three. And on top of that, a partnership that's been around for a little bit of a while. They've decided to go ahead and name them a bigger part of their organization, becoming that official hardware supplier of its teams. John, I think this is another good move from Misfits overall. Asus is a big brand. Republic of Gamers is a huge brand as well under that Asus umbrella. And on top of that, they've continued to find their way into esports, and now Misfits tying the knot for a little bit of a longer term deal here.
Yeah, absolutely massive. Asus has really been one of the, computer part manufacturers that have really been in esports almost from the get-go. They're kind of like what Nike is to traditional sports. When it comes to Asus, I mean, they're a top name, top international name. I'm a huge fan of Asus when it comes to their products. It's a massive statement for Misfits to have this partnership with the Republic of Gamers brand. That's, Asus, again, considered one of the best gaming computer part makers in the world. I mean, Joey, I know in my computer alone, I have an Asus, Republic of Gamer motherboard. My graphics card, unfortunately, is MSI, but that's not bad either. MSI is great. But I know you have some Asus parts in there as well, and a lot of our friends that we know have Asus parts in their computers. I mean, they make a great product. It brings stability to Misfits. It brings that known name to Misfits as well, and they're going to be able to spread it across all of their brands. It's an absolutely brilliant marketing strategy for Misfits to bring a massive name to 3 teams in their organization now.
Absolutely. Really good stuff there from Misfits. And by the way, I think we might have missed it, but Jacob Wolf actually stopped by for a second there. I hope you heard our part on you, Jacob, because we think you're awesome over there. Again, it was a pleasure meeting you down in Atlanta for the homestand of the Overwatch League down there when we went down with Grant Paranjape and the Washington Justice. We look forward to your work over at Dot Esports. Moving into some other news, Team Ninja, the studio behind Dead or Alive, Neo, and Ninja Gaiden, to name a few of their titles, they have stated that they plan to announce several new titles this year. John, I don't know if you've heard anything on this. I've heard rumors of a new Ninja Gaiden. I would not be surprised if we see something else, Dead or Alive or Neo as well. But again, I think this is a studio that could also get their feet wet with a new IP as well. Anything that you're looking forward to? Have you really played any of those games? Have you really dove into the Dead or Alive series, Neo or Ninja Gaiden?
Yeah,
I personally have not really done too much with those 3.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I have not experienced any of those games. I do know Dead or Alive has a pretty big following. But unfortunately, I have not actually played most of those titles.
So we'll keep an eye out for that. Again, I think Ninja Gaiden might be getting something, not 100% sure on the rest, or if it's going to be a new IP, but look for something from Team Ninja. I would say Q1 of this year is when we'll probably see some of those titles announced. Some other ones may get held off until some kind of E3 conference as well. Xbox Game Pass has got a teaser to kick off the year. I think it came out either January 1st or January 2nd, so right up around that new year mark. They have confirmed that the Medium by Blooper Team will be available on launch day on Game Pass for both console and PC. Launch day for that game is going to be January 28th of this year, so just a couple weeks away. The Medium, if you guys have not checked it out, is a third-person psychological horror game, and it's going to heavily utilize the next-gen hardware to render two environments simultaneously. So in a sense, you're playing as a medium. You have the ability to be in your present-day environment, while also it's almost like a split-screen approach. You can be in the spirit world as well. So they're going to be diving into that and really utilizing that hardware to run, in a sense, two games at once, because you're running these two similar environments, but with different aspects to one another. So it's going to be cool to see how that ends up playing out. And again, this will not be on last-gen hardware. Will not be on PS4, will not be on Xbox One, because they do not have the power to run this capability. John, I am not a big horror fan. I am not. I've watched a movie here or there. I've done my due diligence there, but I have not really jumped too much into psychological horror games. This is one that it's super intriguing to see how it's going to utilize this hardware and jump forward with this kind of, in a sense, new technology. But at the same point, I'm also kind of sitting back because I don't really know if I want to jump into a horror game here. So for me, this might be one I watch a few streams of, but not play myself. Not quite sure as of yet. How about yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, it obviously caters to a very specific gamer group. I'm right there with you, Joey. But I don't like horror movies for a different reason. Or the horror genre, is because I normally end up ticking people off around me because I'm usually laughing because they're all very predictable. I think the last horror game I played was Fear, and that was a while ago, and that had a lot of jump scares thrown in there. Like, nobody likes jump scares. They're not fun. That game did it incredibly well, got me a couple times, so kudos to Fear for that. But other than that, like, I just feel like the horror genre is very predictable, whether it's a movie or a video game, but people love it. People love that horror genre. It's going to do well. It's going to sell. But, for me, it's just one of those games that just, it's too specific to a certain type of gamer for it to have a lot of really mainstream success.
Yeah, I can see it. It's one of those things that I feel like we've seen more and more horror games come out. I mean, there's people calling for a return of the Silent Hill series. You have, in a sense, I think you can consider it psychological horror with Dead Space. Now the Callisto Protocol or something like that. Callisto Protocol is a new name by those developers. You have the Medium coming out here. You have Scorn. It's kind of one of those highly anticipated games of 2021. So there's a lot of horror games out there. Again, not quite my favorite genre, but it is one of those genres that just continues to pull in people. Blair Witch was another one this past year or the year before that pulled in a ton. Phasmophobia, I can't think of the name of it. Phasma something. Huge game on Twitch right now. It's almost in the top 5 every week these last couple weeks. So again, horror games are selling. They're pulling in players. They're pulling in viewers as streamers. So I think this game will do pretty well overall. It just might not be my cup of tea, but I do love the fact that Blooper Team is just automatically diving in with this new hardware, finding ways to utilize it right off the bat. And I think this will be a cool game to show the capabilities. Moving into our next topic of that Xbox Game Pass tease, they also teased the return of a popular game to the service. I'm honestly not sure what this game is. I can't get anyone to tell me. I have a feeling it'll be Fallout 4, Red Dead Redemption 2, or GTA 5 if I had to take a guess. Something like GTA 5 has been out for so long. It's got a huge player population. It would make sense just to pop it into Game Pass. Fallout 4, it's not a done deal yet, but with Microsoft looking to acquire Bethesda and kind of closing up and dotting I's and crossing T's happening early on in this year, it could easily be a Bethesda game like Fallout 4. And then Red Dead Redemption 2 spent a month or two on the service back in like May, June range. I would not be surprised to see that one come back either. Yeah, and last but not least, go ahead, yeah?
I was going to say, it's going to be kind of ironic if Red Dead Redemption is the one that makes it to Game Pass, considering our very own Panicking Pat paid full price to play virtual poker on it, and now it's coming to Game Pass. I think it'd be very ironic if it did.
I like that little poke. Yeah, it was on there. I think it was like for a month or two in May. So it was a very brief stint, but that game is huge. It's going to be hard to finish, at least for someone who's not pouring a ton of time into it within a month or two window. So I think it coming back could be a very real possibility here. And I love to dive into that game. So I hope it is probably the one. I personally hope it's the one coming back. I think Fallout 4 will come eventually anyway. Last but not least, they announced a sizable expansion to the cloud gaming catalog. Again, don't have too many details on this. I can't tell you what those games will be, but it's one of those things that is a new up-and-coming feature. We've seen lots of people dive into cloud gaming, from Amazon to Google with Stadia, Amazon with Luna, Microsoft with xCloud, NVIDIA with GeForce Now. So it's just one of those things where everyone's kind of bolstering their catalog. This is Microsoft saying, hey, we already have these games in Game Pass. We already have these games from our own studios. Let's make them more cloud-enabled in a sense and make them easier to play on mobile devices. This is them continuing that commitment toward that early on in 2021. So we'll have an idea of that catalog probably a little bit later in this month. Next up, just to go over a few upcoming events, and then we can dive into our thoughts for 2021, John. Hi-Rez will be hosting a showcase on Thursday, January 7th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. For those of you who do not know, Hi-Rez is the maker of stuff like Rogue Company. Smite is probably their most popular game. Paladins is under their umbrella as well. So expect major content updates for those three games. I believe the showcase is half an hour long. So again, it'll run about 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I'd expect new characters. I'd expect new maps. For Rogue Company, I think they're going to drop a battle pass. Again, I don't know too many details on it, if it's going to have premium items versus free items. I would guess with it being a free-to-play game, they probably copy Fortnite's model. But that is one thing that I believe will be dropping for Rogue Company. And for these other games, again, I think maps, characters, different cosmetic items are probably what to look for. John, I don't think either one of us plays Smite or Paladins, but we have been enjoying some good Rogue Company here and there.
Yeah, I dabbled in Smite a couple of years ago and thought it had a lot of potential. It just overall felt very weird. I can understand why people enjoy the game for sure. It's a very unique version of a MOBA, especially from a third person view. But yeah, I mean, it still has a very dedicated player base. It does incredibly well. There is a nice esports scene for it as well. Obviously it's not a top tier. It's not even a B tier. But I think it does pretty well. But I really think the big news here out of this showcase is going to be Rogue Company. This is the game that has all the hype around it. This is the game that they made a Dr. Disrespect skin in. Are we even allowed to say his name on Twitch? I don't even know. You know, all the bad blood between the two of them. You know, this is a game that has a lot of hype around it. This is a game that has that potential. So I feel like that's going to be the biggest takeaway. Smite and Paladins are going to be playing second fiddle to Rogue Company. Expect Rogue Company to be the very last update in this announcement. It's going to go Smite, Paladins, and then Rogue Company. They want you to stick around all the way to the end. They want to expose the gamers out there to Smite and Paladins. But really the bread and butter of this announcement is going to be Rogue Company.
I actually think they're going to end with Smite, but for very similar reasons. I think Smite is still their biggest game by population. It's super popular, as a lot of those MOBAs like League of Legends and Dota 2 are. And I think that's going to be the key factor here. How long can we keep our biggest population around? So for me, Smite is probably going to be the end. We'll have to take a little friendly bet on this one and see what ends up happening. But like John said, I think the bread and butter to really key in here is Rogue Company. How many eyes can we get on Rogue Company, this up-and-coming game? It's still in an open beta phase. So we saw them add ranked recently. As John said, we've seen partnerships with Dr. Disrespect, with 100 Thieves. So they're going out there, they're getting these content creators, they're getting these esports teams to join in. And then on top of that, they continue to provide regular updates, whether it be new shop installs with different cosmetics, new maps, new game modes. Again, ranked mode just coming recently, so that's another big win for the community. Custom games got added, so everyone who's looking at doing tournament organizing for the game, custom games and spectator mode are now a thing. So a lot of different good features being added to this game, and I think it has lots of potential moving into 2021. Now, Hi-Rez is not the only one holding a showcase, though, John. The big boys at Riot Games will also be hosting one. They're running a Season 2021 opening day stream on Friday, January 8th. everything that's going to be covered, but we do know so far that League of Legends will be covered. Legends of Runeterra will also be covered. If I had to take a guess, I would probably loop TFT into that as well, as it still takes place in that Runeterra realm. So again, League of Legends, Legends of Runeterra, and probably TFT. You're going to want to tune in Friday, January 8th at 10 a.m. Eastern time. John, I'm kind of excited for this. I feel like every single year I get excited at the beginning of the League of Legends season. This is the year I'm going to drive myself to Plat 4, or this is the year I'm going to end up doing this or that, or I'm going to learn this many champions. And I feel like it lasts for like the January, February range. And then I kind of dive off and eventually just don't play it all over the summer. And then I pick a little bit back up here and there. I know One True Prophet, if he's still in chat, is probably mad at me saying that and probably will push me again this year. We'll see what ends up happening, as well as you yourself. But overall, I think Riot Games does a very good job with new content. They continue to release new champions, maybe a little too often, if you ask a lot of people. I'd love to see them dive in a little bit more to like maybe some different game modes, like give us a new variation of Nexus Blitz every couple months. Maybe dive further into Clash and find ways to customize things a little bit more there. Or maybe give us those reskinned maps. I mean, do you remember when they reskinned maps for like the Harrowing one year, or they did like, what is it, Snowdown or whatever they called it? And they kind of gave Summoner's Rift like a full like wintry snow approach. They haven't done that in years. That's the kind of stuff I would love to see come back to I was about to say Legends of League and Legends of Runeterra. League of Legends, Summoner's Rift. I would love to see some reskins and different things like that come out this year. Oh, come on. You can't be silent on Riot Games. Are you looking forward to these updates? You want champion number 164?
No, I want them to take champions away. In all honesty, I get it. You want to have a lot of different choices out there. You want to give player bases the choices, but I'm sorry, the skill level, the not skill level, but the knowledge cap for this game has become overly ridiculous that any new player is left out from any meaningful game for almost 6 months to a year, because it feels like it's that big of a learning curve. You know, how dare you go into a game and not know what a champion that hasn't been played in 4 years does? How dare you not know the brand new items that just changed a month ago and all the 80 million different combinations it gets built into? Like, I get it. Like, you want to make the game fresh, you want to keep it interesting, but no, I want no more champions. If anything, like, take champions away, and that's the time you rework them. That's the time you make them fresh, make them a little bit new, and then they come back out, put it on a rotating basis. That might be a terrible idea. I don't know. But it's better than releasing character number 432. You know, I mean, that's just years away. That is literally just years away. And it just feels like it's too much. But no, Joe, you're 100% right. Riot puts out amazing content. They put out amazing games. TFT has, I was never a fan of auto chess games. TFT has won me over. It's a game mode I really enjoy playing. It's probably the only mobile game that I still play, which is a testament, because if you listen to the show, you know how much I hate mobile games. So kudos to that. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to be watching. I'm excited for it. It's going to be really, really cool. We'll see what they're going to be doing with Valorant in the upcoming months as well, in 2021. So I think it's going to be really cool to see what they're going to be doing.
Okay, fam, don't quote me on this, but I'm going to drop some of what I believe is coming. I think there's going to be 6 champions released this year. Sorry, John, they're not deleting any. They're actually adding 6. You're going to end up getting 1 for every role plus 2 for the mid lane. So 1 for every role, and then the mid lane is going to have an assassin as well as a mage. They mentioned this back in like the summer. This is the content they're trying to build toward, and at least from what I've heard, this is what will be happening for 2021 as well. On top of that, they do have a new game coming out. So Ruined King is going to be a new game that comes out. It's a tactical RPG dropping sometime early on, probably. It could be spring 2021. It really depends on how COVID has impacted that development. It was originally scheduled for around that January, February timeframe of this month or this year. So we'll see if it has to drop back a little bit closer to April, but I think it's going to be heavy on Ruined King content. So diving into Ruined King's lore just a tad bit, because we did do a video on the show before. It's going to be talking about Bilgewater and I believe a little bit of Shadow Isles. So if we look at the way that Riot has kind of developed their games of Legends of Runeterra as well as League of Legends the last couple of years, they've kind of tried to dive into certain regions. So you had Legends of Runeterra drove into Targon, and they did Bilgewater this past year. League of Legends, I think, is diving into Bilgewater heavily this year, as well as Shadows. So the reason being, Ruined King, I think some of the champions you're going to see are going to be a bit more of that kind of Mordekaiser theme in a sense, maybe a little bit more of that Callista Thresh. I actually think one of the champions you guys are getting this year is going to be the Ruined King. So similar to that game coming out, I think they're going to tie them in directly. And I think Ruined King, at least to my knowledge, I think he's going to end up being a top laner, maybe a jungle, depending where they try to place him. Again, champions can be flexed wherever. We've seen that plenty of times in League of Legends. But I think Ruined King will be one of those 6 champions this year. And again, I think the major focus will be kind of building up that lore and building up champions in the Bilgewater and Shadow Isle regions. As far as Legends of Runeterra go, they've already done Bilgewater. They have Shadow Isles. They've done Targon. I don't really know where they're going to dive next, if they're going to go into a new region and what it's going to end up being. I'm trying to think of the major regions they haven't really hit on yet. I mean, they could go into stuff like with Lilia and where she's from and Ivern and different forest-based stuff. But other than that, I'm really not quite sure where Legends of Runeterra ends up going next. They could also develop a new region. Like I've said before on the show, a lot of the different lore that we're seeing in League of Legends is coming from the work done on Legends of Runeterra. So, John, I'm actually super stoked for this. It could be simple. It could just be, you're going to get these champions. You're going to get this. We're going to look at doing this, and that's all it is. But it could end up diving a bit deeper and maybe giving a further tease of that Ruined King, either character or game itself. You mentioned it already, but Riot Games will also be hosting a Valorant live stream, so you will be hearing updates on that. It won't be on the stream on January 8th. This one's coming January 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So for those of you who are in that vein of tactical shooters like CSGO and Valorant, you can check those out. It'll be on Twitch as devs break down what to expect in Episode 2, January 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So, John, Valorant for us was a bit hit or miss. You and I, we enjoy shooter games here and there, third person and first person, but when it came to the tactical shooter, I think we both had our own issues. Me, for example, coming from Call of Duty, I really liked the idea like sitting still in a sense as I was shooting at times. Did I freeze?
No.
I think I froze.
No, you're
Am I
good.
back?
No, you're fine.
Okay. A little bit of a freeze there. But yeah, when it comes to tactical shooters, my issue is kind of slowing down and stopping to actually look for those quick whip headshots and actually just stop my foot movement overall. For you, we always had our own issues, but I remember you getting yelled at a few times for looking too far down at your feet. We both got our crosshairs criticized by Kieran Thill before. So there's a number of different things that you and I struggle with in Valorant. But I think one thing we can both agree on is a lot of the gun skins were really cool. A lot of the mechanics and the abilities of combining the CSGO kind of gunplay with the abilities of something like an Overwatch worked really well for Valorant. And neither of us can really deny the fact that it's just taken the world by storm, both on Twitch and continuing to bring up its esports numbers, its players numbers on the gaming side, and it's doing incredibly well. So I'm pretty darn excited here for episode 2. Anything else you want to say on Valorant? Am I unfrozen over there?
I don't aim at my feet that much. I aim a little bit south of the horizon, but yeah, when you call me out for something as small as that, I will go to the extreme. So I started running around aiming fully at the ground. Then I was told to aim up, so I aimed at the sky and started to run around. Yes, I am a troll. Maybe I'm toxic. I don't care. Do not correct me. That's all I'm going to say. Love you, Grant.
So we'll see what happens on that. From what I've heard, the new agent has some invisibility stuff baked into the kit. I believe I actually posted it on Discord, some of the possible leaked abilities. So we'll see how that ends up taking things, because Riot has kind of gone back on their word a little bit with certain features that have released in the game. One of the big things was that abilities would not be able to kill different people in game. That is obviously, even since launch with abilities like Jet's Ultimate, it went out the door pretty early on. Then from there, we got some invisibility baked in with Reyna. We got the ability for invincibility at certain points, depending on how you used it. So I think there's a lot of different things they're experimenting with that maybe were not original ideas when they came out with the game, but since then have done some adaptions, have done the reworking in a sense. Like Killjoy's turret is another thing that deployables were not supposed to be a thing. Now they're in game. So as we continue to progress forward with new episodes, new agents, new chapters, I'm curious how much Valorant is really going to push that line of what they originally said versus the content they eventually put out. Again, it looks cool. It plays cool. I'm just curious to see how it's going to end up adapting the scene. Okay, CES 2021, digital tech fans out there will be going all digital this year. It's going to run from January 11th through the 14th to show the world the latest in technological developments. So if you just bought a brand new TV or a brand new monitor or one of these cool new tech devices for around the holidays or Christmas time, maybe you even got a gift. Now you get to see this technical showcase that says, hey, your TV, your computer, your cell phone, it's now old news. Go ahead and check out the newest thing in technology. So if you guys are big tech fans, CES again, January 11th through the 14th to check out those new techs.
Oh, yeah. I'll be watching. I'll be crying because I just got a whole bunch of new stuff and it's already obsolete. Gotta love technology.
It's the worst. It is the worst.
So
I mean, it's
good.
the same thing with computers. Like I built my computer, a couple of years ago now. And I feel like then you see this giant graphics card come out. And now these new graphics cards, I mean, you're even a couple gens behind me, or you were at least. I don't know what you got for Christmas over there.
I didn't get a graphics
but
card.
as far as graphics cards go, they continue to update so quickly. And I feel like every couple of years, like we're still running games that are pretty decent, but it's starting to push that line sooner and sooner, just the way technology moves so quickly.
Yeah, I'm still rocking a GTX 980. So we're on the 30 series now. So yeah, I'm about 4 generations behind.
It's only a matter of time, fam, because I'm not going to be too far behind you. I have a feeling the way things move nowadays. But we did upgrade our hard drives, so our hard drives are kicking nice and pretty over there at the M.2. So
First off,
slowly but surely.
having a 980 doesn't make you a boomer, T-Spans. That's not how this works. Graphics cards are like $800. If you're upgrading every generation, either A, you're rich, B, your parents are rich, or C, you're T-Spans. And, some of us are just not T-Spans. So there you go.
T-Spans, the computer genius over there. Yeah, so slowly but surely we're doing our upgrades. John's graphics card is probably next on our list, on top of getting him a new camera wire so he can be back on his camera. But other than that, CES 2021, again, January 11th through the 14th for that one. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, but Rogue Company, their holiday event has been extended. If you guys want to get the cool content in that one, it's extended until January 12th. So an extra week for players to grind that out. They've had a couple server issues here and there. I think that's part of the reason we do see that extension coming through. So again, guys, if you're grinding that pass, it is up until January 12th now. John, with no further ado, let's dive a bit into 2021 and what we think we can expect both on the game side as well as the rumor/feature side. Kicking things off, let's actually go to features. It's a little bit farther down in our notes here. Ubisoft Plus. This is something I've been investigating a bit here and there. There are rumors that came out, I think it was like a week or two ago at this point, where Ubisoft Plus was being talked about possibly being added into the Xbox Game Pass. I can now confirm they are in talks to add Ubisoft Plus to Xbox Game Pass. I do not know the further details, and it has really not been finalized as of yet, but it is something that both companies are currently working towards. So what does this mean? It could mean a couple different things. Ubisoft Plus currently, or Uplay/Ubisoft Plus, depending where you end up looking for it, it currently includes all new titles on day one. That could be the case with Game Pass, or it could not. Personally, I think they're going to go with like a EA Play Lite type of version. So it'll say, hey, you guys can buy your new Assassin's Creed, your new Watch Dogs games up front, and then 6 to 9 months later, we'll add them into this service of Game Pass with Uplay or Ubisoft Plus, whatever they call it. So that could be an option. I think the other option could be to add another tier onto Game Pass that says, hey, you can have all those Ubisoft games day one, but you have to pay an extra $5 for Xbox Game Pass Platinum or something like that. I think it's a possibility. Personally, I think it will be that EA Play route. I think they'll add them in. They'll put like a 6 to 9 month delay so they can still get those upfront sales. But then on top of that, people who do want to wait it out a little bit or maybe end up wanting to get that content later on down the road can do so via Game Pass. I think this will be a thing. I think it will happen later in the year. Maybe it gets announced at E3 like the June range. Personally, I think it's going to be holiday 2021. I think there's some existing deals currently with Amazon. Again, not finalized yet, but I think it will be coming probably later this year. John, what are your thoughts of Ubisoft Plus possibly joining the service? So EA Play was huge. Again, it does have that bit of a game delay. It's not instant day one, but Ubisoft comes in with titles like Rainbow Six. They come in with titles like Assassin's Creed with Valhalla and Odyssey and many others. You come in with Watch Dogs. You come in with a ton of different games under that Ubisoft umbrella. Do you think this could be something to, I mean, obviously it's going to push Game Pass subs. Do you think this is a game changer that you see more people who might not already be looking at Game Pass start to look their way?
Oh, for sure. Assassin's Creed is a massive gaming franchise. That alone will get people looking at moving over to Xbox Game Pass. I mean, it is such an in-depth universe they've built with that game. The fans of that game, myself included, if I have to wait, 6 to 9 months, to play the game for in a subscription-based package I already have, I'm going to wait. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm going to wait. Like, I have no need to play it right then, right now. Like, I like the game, but do I really want to drop another $60-$70 when I can wait a couple months and then I can play it on Game Pass? I feel like that's going to be the next real question for gamers out there, and really for developers too, is if that's the direction we start to see, where people would rather wait for it to come to Game Pass, if they already have that partnership made, that agreement's already in place, will gamers be willing to wait 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months to play it on Game Pass? And then on top of it, you have to take a look at some of the history of AAA title games that have come out that have been a little less than stellar at launch. I'm not going to point fingers or call anyone out, but a lot of these games got better with time. A lot of the bugs got fixed in 3, 4, 5 months. So it's almost like if you don't want to have your favorite game franchise ruined, it might be worth waiting 3, 4, 5 months for everything to get fixed. So you get the best version of that game possible, or if you're just that big of a fanboy, just buy it straight up. It doesn't really matter. But I think that's going to be the real debate, is if this direction, if developers keep going this direction where they're going to release it on Game Pass on a delayed schedule, are we going to see a movement in the gaming community, in the gamer community, to wait several extra months so it's already included in something you're paying for, rather than shelling out extra money on top of the subscription-based package?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest question with Game Pass in general. So, like, if you look at the indie dev side, Game Pass has been huge. There are over 1 million players. They came in with, I think it was like 150,000 players were playing that game overall. Then they came in, they dove into Game Pass, and they have something like, it's like 1.5 million players playing that game or something like that now. Like, they just continue to grow month over month of being in Game Pass. Now, something like an Assassin's Creed Valhalla, if that goes into Game Pass day one, I think you pick up a ton of Game Pass subs, but does Ubisoft make as much potentially in that sale? If I'm Ubisoft, I say, hey, Microsoft, I want a ton of money up front because this is the sales money we're losing in putting this into your service. And does Microsoft make that back in subscriptions? Possibly. It's still a bit of a question mark, I think, when it comes to AAAs currently. Something like Control, for example. Control was a Game of the Year nominee. It won Game of the Year on many different sites. I did not go out and buy the game, and I don't think I would have spent money on the game overall. Then it got added into Game Pass in December, and I'm going back, and I think Control is probably one of my favorite. Super psychological. There's a lot of cool aspects written into that overall story. So I think because of Game Pass, I dove into a game that I don't know if I would have played originally. And now I want to go in and buy more games from Remedy. I want to look at Alan Wake. I want to look at Quantum Break. I want to look at what's coming next from that studio. So in a sense, I didn't spend money on their game, their AAA game from last year. But now because of it, I'm looking at possibly spending money on their last 2 games in that storyline. I'm looking at possibly spending more money in the future. The DLC is not included on Game Pass, so that's another $10-$20 out of me potentially. Again, I haven't made these purchases yet, but I'm highly considering them because of how much I enjoyed the AAA game of Control. So I think there are ways for AAA games to make profit. Personally, I think delaying it is the way to go. I think 6 to 9 months would probably be a good window. You look at stuff like Cyberpunk, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, people are going to want to play this up front. They're going to get that FOMO issue where it's like, oh, John's playing Assassin's Creed. Well, do I want to watch him? Do I just want to sit back for 6 to 9 months and see when it comes to Game Pass? Or do I just want to dive in now because everyone else is experiencing it? So for me, the culture of buying it up front will still be there, but I would not be surprised to start seeing some people wait it out to see if it does get added to services like Xbox Game Pass, PlayStation Now, NVIDIA GeForce, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it could be a shift we see. I don't think it'll be monumental, but I do think services like Game Pass and PlayStation Now do have a lot of benefits, especially for those small developers, but also for those big developers of getting more people in. The other example I just want to say is like GTA 5, different online-based games like that are kind of live service. Destiny is another one. They have good player bases and they're strong on consoles especially, but when you throw them into a service like this, you're allowing so many other people to experience your game. And then with something like live service that really lives on how many players are currently playing, how many cosmetics you can sell every week, now you have all these free players that are jumping in for something that may have cost $60 up front, but you're getting so many more players. And in the end, they do end up spending more money than what they probably would have paid up front for that game. So I think there are a lot of benefits to it, even for the AAA side as well. I freaking love this service, by the way, guys. I'm just going to say that out loud. So I will always be pro Game Pass. I think it's just super pro gamer right now. I honestly hope PlayStation tries to match it in some way. I think that would be a huge win for the Sony side, and to have two competing services where we continue to see both kind of really struggle with price and struggle with what titles they end up going for, I think would probably be good overall for the industry. So we'll see how Sony ends up answering it. I think they'll have to come up with some kind of answer. But for now, PlayStation 5s are selling extremely well, at least as ones that do make it out to the wild. So we'll have to see if any adaptations are made there. On top of that, with Game Pass Ultimate, you do have the option to get into cloud streaming with xCloud. John, that will be coming to iOS and PCs this year. I believe it's going to come out in the first half of 2021. It'll be added to both those. And then look out for fall 2021. I think it'll get added to smart TVs as well. Before we dive in, picking it up as a cool platform. For me, the biggest thing with it is affordability. To be able to pay $14.99 to kind of get the subscription and have the full access to your library, as well as all these other titles available on Game Pass, I think is really cool for someone who might only have a mobile phone, or may only have a tablet, or may have a PC that just doesn't have the power to run these games. So I think accessibility is the biggest advantage, in my opinion, right now. Any other thoughts on that, sir?
No, I think you made very good points.
Awesome. Before we dive into games, one last thing. There are a lot of upcoming game, movies, and TV shows. I honestly don't know what has been publicly said, so I'll go ahead and list some of them off. Halo is working on a TV series. This one is going to be with Stars. I believe it's going to come out this year. It could get pushed to 2022. Filming did get delayed due to COVID earlier on in the year. We're going to have a Fallout TV series coming out. I want to say that one is being worked on with HBO, if I remember correctly, as well as an Elder Scrolls TV show. So again, Xbox diving in with Halo, and now these two Bethesda IPs. And there is a Gears of War movie in the works as well. I don't know if that one is still ongoing. That one may have been canned, but that could come out in the next couple of years too. On the PlayStation side, Uncharted is being worked on. I think that is going to be a really good movie. I have high expectations for that. They got some good actors like Tom Holland coming into that. The environments they're filming in look really cool, so expect good things with that. The Last of Us is another series that is getting a TV adaptation. That one's going to be a TV show. I want to say that one was HBO, but not 100% sure on that. So that will be coming out as well. And I feel like I'm missing one, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. So guys, again, this is kind of the age of now. We've seen video game movies try to do their thing. John and I have slammed them before. They've come out. They've not really come out to great appeal. I think Prince of Persia was one of the better ones. Warcraft did all right, but it didn't end up pulling in too many numbers past the opening weekend. And one of the biggest issues with video game movies is, how do we take this amazing, deep, rich story from the video games and adapt it in a way that we can allow gamers to kind of dive into it with that same IP, that same general idea, and still have fun with it, but also not change too many things around? We're seeing a bit of that with Star Wars, like with The Mandalorian, where it's diving into an IP in a sense, but it's also taking a different approach to it. It's not really messing with some of the other stories. It may intertwine them a bit here and there, but overall, they're finding new and unique ways to dive into it. I think that's what we're going to see next with a lot of these video game IPs kind of moving from that movie approach to the TV show approach. And I actually think some of these are going to pop off, John.
Yeah, and The Mandalorian's a very interesting example because, like you said, like it's not done in the same style as the movies. They're allowed to take their time with the story. They're allowed to build up the backstory to what's going on. They're allowed to make those different approaches. I think the biggest issue when it comes to video game movies is, one, you have a time limit, a very finite time limit that you have to keep the attention span of the viewer. Two, I feel like the issue has always been is that the gaming studio really is kind of too hands off in these movies. And because of it, Hollywood takes some liberties with how they change certain things. That was some of the issues with these video game movies, is that these changes, these liberties that were made were so radical that you're sitting here and you're watching. If you're a fan of this gaming series and you're hyped for this movie, you sit there and you watch and you go, wait a minute, this isn't the game. This isn't the lore. This isn't the background. This is not even close to what the game is. And that is massively off-putting. You know, what drives me up a wall is you have a movie like Warcraft that comes out, but then you take a look at Blizzard and the cinematics they put out for World of Warcraft, for their hype videos, for their trailers, for their upcoming expansion packs and patches and major patches for those expansion packs that come out. These masterpieces of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minute long videos that are just, like cinematically beautiful, and they tell a great story and they're absolutely incredible. And then you see Blizzard kind of just do one of these things and let a random Hollywood studio kind of run with it. And it was kind of like, there were just so many liberties taken that, like, if you're a Warcraft fan, you're like, okay, yeah, it's Warcraft, but it's not Warcraft. Same thing with Super Mario Bros. When that movie came out, that was god awful. Goombas were people, apparently, not mushrooms. I don't understand. Sonic the Hedgehog, when that movie came out, I think we all can remember the backlash with how Sonic looked. That is Hollywood screwing with something good. And that's the biggest issue. And I think that's why a lot of people have been trained, for a lack of better terms, but history shows we've been trained to expect the worst. The bar is so incredibly low for video game movies and TV shows. Like, yeah, you'll find an outlier that's really good here and there. The Witcher is one that a lot of people really, really like. But outside of The Witcher, you're going to have a hard time naming 5. You're going to have a really hard time naming 5 good, same level as The Witcher TV shows or movies from a video game. It's just rough. And that's why, like, I'm excited for more of these, but at the same time, it's like I can't get excited because I'm expecting it to be a hot dumpster fire. And I hate that. And I hate the fact that that's what I've been trained to assume with video game movies.
Yeah, I think it comes, like I said, the side stories for me. I think Fallout is going to do really well. I think Elder Scrolls will do really well. From the movie perspective, again, I think it's probably going to cross a very similar line to what we saw in the video game, but I think Uncharted could do really well overall. But for me, like stuff like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, you don't have to go with that main storyline. You can allow that to play out in the game. And because those worlds are so vast, because there's so many different stories happening in them, you can really just take a side quest and go a lot farther with it. You can build off the side story of maybe another kingdom nearby. It allows for a lot of creative freedom for Hollywood and a lot of the writers of that game to potentially get involved, but you don't have to cross the storyline in the game. That way gamers don't say, hey, this didn't happen exactly like it did in the game, and they don't get mad about it. Or if they change things up, it's like, oh, well, compared to the game, this was nothing great. So I think that's one way that they can kind of dive into these realms or these worlds or these lore environments that gamers really love and have come to love over the years, and find ways to branch off and add on to their story. And again, I think The Mandalorian is a perfect example of this. You come into Star Wars, this piece is, that's your own thing out there, but to find a little area within that timeline to throw a new, in a sense, kind of IP in there, because they're building off the lore that already exists in the world of Star Wars and just finding ways to expand upon it. I think that's a great series out there. I think they're killing it. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni over there doing great stuff with The Mandalorian, and I really think the potential is here for a lot of these IPs. Personally, I think Last of Us, if they go right off the story, it could be good. But again, you're going to get a lot of that really hatred from gamers that say, we've already done this. We played through the game. Why do we need a movie adaptation or a TV show? And I think it's going to be similar with Halo, unless they pick a different series. If they follow Master Chief and they make it just like the baseline game, I just don't really see that series doing really well. But if they can find ways to find side stories, again, I think Fallout and Elder Scrolls really have that potential. I think there is the ability to bring in new fans to the franchise, as well as make current gamers pretty happy with it. So I'm going to have high hopes here. I don't think all of them will pop off, but I think 2 to 3 of them could do really well. Okay, it is game time, my dude. So we're going to dive in a little bit. I named out some titles here for PlayStation, for Xbox, Nintendo, and a few others. We're not going to hit on every title because we'd be here all night, guys. But over the next 10 minutes or so, we'll dive into some of the titles we're most excited for in 2021. And John, I'm curious to get your thoughts on some of these PlayStation ones. Kicking things off, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I am not the biggest Ratchet and Clank fan. I've played a bit here and there. I think the last one I played was PS2, and it was fun. It was really cool, the different weapons that came out, the real creative liberties that they put behind those weapons, and really the amazing destruction that they can build into that cartoon-style game. For me, the biggest thing in this one in particular is similar to what we talked about with the medium earlier on. It's the ability to render 2 environments at once. In a sense, they have like this, I don't know what you call it in Ratchet and Clank. It's almost like this rift world in a sense, where you can go through this rift tunnel into the second world. And it's going to have the ability to have both those worlds really running simultaneously because of that power of next-gen hardware. I think that's going to be really cool to see it come to fruition.
Oh, my turn. Yeah, Ratchet and Clank's going to be great. That's definitely one of the biggest PlayStation games I'm looking forward to. We're going to touch on another one here in a few. But yeah, I think it looked great from the demo that we saw. I thought it was fantastic. The idea of merging 2 realities together, possibly going through these rifts to experience different parts of the level to really complete the level adds that kind of strategic twist to this action platformer that, you know, is finding different ways to reinvent itself. I think it's very unique. Unlike Joey, I am a big fan of Ratchet and Clank, so I am definitely looking forward to Rift Apart. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I have high hopes for it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really cool game to showcase that new tech. So definitely check that one out, guys. Next on the list is Horizon Forbidden West, the follow-up to Horizon Zero Dawn. John, when I looked at PlayStation as someone who did not own a PS4, Horizon Zero Dawn was always that game that I really wanted to dive into. I was super excited for. It's a really cool IP, and I ended up eventually buying it on PC. I have played quite a bit of it. And I don't want to say it was overrated, but it didn't hit the nerve that I expected it to. I expected to dive really deeper into that story. Again, I think the quests are good. I think the system is quite good as far as customization, but it wasn't really that game that kind of took me by storm like I originally thought it would be. I think I do enjoy watching it, though. I've seen tons of streams on it. I think it's fun to watch people play through. Me personally, I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I would. With that being said, I think the series is really cool. I think the IP is awesome, and Horizon Forbidden West should be coming out later this year, and I think it'll be a really big hit with gamers.
Yeah, it's another one of those titles that has a lot of hype around it. I'll be honest, Joey, I'm right there with you. I didn't, you know, as for all the hype with the original Horizon, you know, it was good. It was a good game, but I couldn't understand the hype either. Like, I thought it was great, but I didn't, you know, I'm going to use an analogy that probably no one's going to get here. There's a movie that was hyped up to me that I've never seen. Like, this was like 6 years ago. The Big Lebowski. Never seen it. And it was hyped up to me by like 8 different people for like 3 full months. Like every single day for 3 months. We're like, oh, it's like the greatest movie ever. It's oh, it's so good. So finally, after 3 months, they finally got me to sit down and watch it. And I watched it. It was a good movie. It was good. It wasn't 3 months worth of hype good. And that to me made the movie terrible. Like I enjoyed it, but I'm not quoting it like everyone else was quoting it. Like I had zero interest in it because it wasn't as good as what everyone hyped it up to be. I feel like that's what Horizon kind of fell into, is that the people who loved it, they really freaking loved it. And then they let that love spread out all over the universe. And everyone else is like, oh, love, I want some of that. I want some of that. And then they play it and they're like, it's not bad, but you know, it's not that good. So hopefully Horizon Forbidden West has a little bit of a different twist on it, but again, not a bad game. So hopefully Forbidden West will try to make some believers out of those mediocre people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll play very similar to the first game. I think it'll be that same like action adventure, third person perspective. And I think it'll be a great game. It might not be the game for everyone, but overall, I think Aloy, I don't remember how to pronounce her name, is a really cool character. There's a lot of depth to her character. On top of that, the environment of being in there kind of with all these creatures that are machines and finding different ways for them to adapt to the environment, I think is a really cool perspective in that game. The level design is really well done. Graphically is quite a good game as well. So I do think there's a lot of potential here for Horizon Forbidden West. Again, I don't think we have a release date, but I do believe that one will be 2021. Last but not least for PlayStation, the other big one to hit on, which I do not think is going to come out this year. A lot of people are pegging God of War Ragnarok to come out this year. Personally, I think it's going to get delayed due to COVID-19. If it does release, I think it'll be later in the year, either fall 2021 / holiday 2021, to maybe compete with Halo and another title we're going to talk about a little bit later on. Overall, I do not think it's coming out this year, though. I think the fact that the teaser we got was purely just a symbol give some reason for that. I think if it was actually coming out, we would have had a little bit more of a flavor of maybe not a full-on gameplay trailer, but I think we would have got some kind of animation / in-engine trailer. So for me, I think people are overhyping the release of this year. Again, it could still come out. I have no information on if it's going to or not. I heard that there was a trailer ready in September. It did not get shown. Eventually, we did see a trailer. So I think it could be coming, but I would. Nothing on God of War, sir?
It lagged out there real quick. I am going to be making a nasty phone call to Verizon after the stream, it feels like. No, God of War is the other game that I'm really hyped for. If it does come out this year, like you said, Joey, there's a lot of question marks around God of War. Like you said, there are all these rumors floating around about how there is a game trailer ready to be released, that there is going to be gameplay that's going to be shown. And we're just kind of like, we're kind of sitting here and just waiting. And it feels like where there's smoke, there has to be fire, but it just seems like there's just more smoke. God of War is a fantastic game series. If you've never played it and you're on the PlayStation ecosystem, you're out of your mind. You definitely need to go play it. It is a fantastic series. So rightfully so, it has this hype around it. And we're just hoping, that sooner or later we get those trailer releases, we get a little more information on this game title, because, it needs to come out. There's a strong group out there that really wants to play the next chapter of God of War. And they've all been bangers of games. So, a lot of us are waiting, but we'll see what happens.
And again, guys, just a disclaimer, I could be completely wrong on this. I would say 90 to 95% of journalists are saying God of War will be coming out this year. It's kind of just me and a few others saying we don't think it will. And again, it could still come out, but if it does, I think it'll be late on in the year. I think it'll be maybe out there to compete with something like a Halo, something like a few of these other titles like Elden Ring possibly. And I think that could be potential. But again, if it's not ready, I hope they don't rush it. We already saw what rushing it does with Cyberpunk's release this year. I think holding off to 2022, if it's not graphically ready, is probably the best move over there. Again, it could just be them saving for this huge showcase in June with E3 or whatever presentation they put on. So only time will tell on that one. Personally, I think it will be a late 2021, early 2022 release. To mention some other ones, again, not to dive into these, but Returnal is another one a lot of people are hyped for on PlayStation, as well as 2 games from ZeniMax Media that Microsoft will be honoring. And those are timed limited exclusives for Ghostwire Tokyo, as well as Deathloop coming to PlayStation this year as well. Over to the Xbox side, we have Psychonauts 2, the long-awaited cult classic follow-up to what we saw with Psychonauts. I believe Psychonauts was an original Xbox release. I personally never played it, but I've heard tons and tons of times the amazing storytelling that comes out of Double Fine and came into that title of Psychonauts. This one will be releasing. It's going to be multi-plat though, so not just Xbox. It'll be on Xbox, PC, as well as PlayStation. I don't know if it's coming to Nintendo Switch, but it will be on those major platforms there. So keep an eye out for that one. I think this will be coming out early on in 2021, probably by spring. A new Forza game will be coming out this year as well. Again, don't know which one. I don't have a ton of connections to Microsoft right now, but Motorsport is one of those games that's been teased for a little while, Motorsport 8. They're also looking at a new Horizon game. So Forza Horizon typically comes out every 2 years. It's a little bit more of their arcade-style game. I think that's what you're going to get this year. I think it'll be some version of Forza Horizon. Could be Forza Horizon 5, I think is the number they're on. Or they've talked about plans of making a bigger change where it's just like one Forza Horizon that ends up with these different updates every year or two. I think that could be what they're moving toward, but I do think you get some kind of new Forza game this year. The next one, John, and I want to dive into here is Halo Infinite. So Halo Infinite was supposed to be that flagship title that came out in 2020, launched with the Xbox Series X and S in November 2020, and it never came. They ended up delaying it. It was originally delayed to what people thought was going to be spring 2021. Now it's delayed all the way to fall 2021. I believe its release date, not publicly announced, but I believe it's going to be November 15th, 2021. So almost a full year of delays. Personally, I think it was the right move. From what I've heard, the campaign is completely finished at this point. It is purely a year to polish the game. So they're taking that feedback from the July showcase. People said, hey, there's some popping effects. Some of the graphics looked a little too classic for us. We want to blend that classic feel, but also have those new next-gen graphics. So from what my knowledge is, they're actually taking a full year to add graphical appeal to this game.
Joe, I love the term you just used. It feels too classic. Is that what we're gonna call just old technology or just people recycling old IPs with old graphics and trying to polish it off as new? We're just gonna call it the classic experience. Yeah, I mean, look, there's two camps, and we've talked about it here on the show before. If you want to have a game that has that classic Joey feel to it, then yeah, it looked fine. Like, it looked like every Halo game, not every Halo game, but a majority of the early Halo games advancing into the next generation of consoles, but not current gen or next gen console kind of levels. So it makes sense. Then you also have the older fans that want to see this game kind of take that next step forward. You want to see, you've already experienced Halo 2. You've already experienced the golden age of when Halo, stepped foot into the gaming universe. Now you want Halo to make that next step. So yeah, I think it's right for fans to be like, hey, look, I want better graphics. I want a game that is like not a full remake of everything ever, but like, we want that next step. We want to see Halo continue to advance along with the current great technology. It's kind of awkward because a comparison that I like here is when episode 3 of Star Wars came out. And at the very end, where it ties it up for episode 4, the first original StarCraft that came out in the 70s, Star Wars, pardon me. Star Wars that came out in the 70s. All of a sudden you have like this 21st century technology going back to 1970s at the very end. And it felt very weird seeing like, 1970s imagery and graphics in high def. And it just looked weird. Like, you had all these like high-tech cities, this amazing green screen and just graphical masterpieces in 1, 2, and 3. And then at the end of 3, you wrap it back around because it has to tie up with 4. And it looks like it visually took a massive step backwards into the 70s. So it's kind of weird. That's kind of like what we're seeing with Infinite, is that combination of how far forward do we want to go with still giving it that same kind of classic feel, if you will. And I don't think anyone is wrong wanting a classic graphical version or a better graphical version, but kudos to Halo and the team there to, pull the game back and work on the graphic upgrades. But at the same time, I feel like it's not really a lose-lose situation if you kept the classic graphics or not.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those people in July that didn't think it looked that bad. Like, obviously, you look at some of the faces, like the brutes, the expressions feel a little bit dull. They don't feel quite as polished as they could be. The ground and stuff, though, didn't look that bad to me. I think the skybox could use some work. Again, what we saw in July was footage from around March/April of 2020. So they did do a couple months worth of work after that as well. But on top of that, I do think this is a big ode to what they're expecting with this game. They're going to take that extra time, almost a full year, to polish this thing up. And there are some games that released that didn't do this. Again, Cyberpunk, with the older versions of the game on Xbox One and PS4, has got criticism for this. We've seen a number of other games get criticism for this as well. In these new working conditions of COVID-19, we've seen a lot of developers make small delays, but maybe not delay as long as they needed to, at least for certain platforms. You look at Cyberpunk on PC, it looks amazing. It's playing quite well. Yes, there's some bugs here and there, but graphically it looks pretty good overall. And that's the same thing with a number of these other games. It just depends on the platform and trying to get it to span 3 different really technology generations, because PCs, you have so many different builds out there. Then you have the new Xbox Series X, S, and PS5 consoles versus what you had in the Xbox One, PS4 generation, and trying to make something perfect on all these different consoles while not being in person and trying to do this on a distance area has made things a lot difficult or more difficult than they should have been in game development this past year. So I think that's one thing we'll continue to see as we go forward. Again, Halo Infinite, it's sad to see it delayed, and I don't think it hurt console sales since they did sell out everywhere. But overall, I think that is one of those big things that could push a lot of consoles this fall / this holiday when it eventually comes out, if it does end up pushing the envelope the way it should. Again, I think single player is going to bring a new, fresh approach. I think multiplayer is going to be pretty cool too. It's hard to say, but for Halo, the audience is very needy. You have a lot of people that want that no sprint, let's make it super classic Halo, versus you have the new people that are like, oh, Call of Duty Warzone's awesome. Fortnite's great. How can we build some of these connections or content and graphical plays and controller schemes into the Halo version that we want this next gen Halo to feel like. So trying to find that balance is not going to be an easy task for 343, but again, taking a full year to polish it, I think it's going to look gorgeous whichever way they end up going. So definitely keep an eye out for that. These next two are not publicly announced. I do think they're coming though, so we're going to go ahead and mention them. From the Bethesda Game Studios / ZeniMax Media deal, I think you will be seeing Wolfenstein 3 drop this year, as well as the very highly anticipated Starfield. A lot of people aren't sure when this one's going to drop. We've got no indication from Tom Howard and Bethesda. I personally think this one will be dropping fall / holiday 2021. Again, it's supposed to be some kind of like Fallout space game overall. We've so far only seen 3 images of it. There hasn't really even been much of a trailer outside of a little bit of a cosmic galaxy look. I do think this one is dropping later this year. I think this is going to be a big surprise. And on top of that, guys, and it's not public, but I think it's going to be the way it ends up going. I think Starfield will be exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. It'll be available on Xbox consoles and PC, as well as a couple months later on xCloud. That is what I'm predicting. So I think those two will be surprise drops later this year, probably to be announced at E3 in June, Wolfenstein 3 and Starfield. I'm stoked for those games if they end up coming, John. I know you've been like a Wolfenstein fan over time. You've kind of played that series out. For me, Starfield, I think the idea of a new IP, and I love anything based in space. Besides Call of Duty Infinite or whatever that title was, most of the space games out there I really enjoy. So I think Starfield could shake a lot of things up. Age of Empires 4 is the last one to touch on here. It does not have a release date to my knowledge, but I do think Age of Empires 4 will also be a surprise release late 2021. I do know the game is mostly done at this point. They're working on a few balance tweaks here and there. And then on top of that, it is polished. So again, it just really depends on how the polish ends up working out. But I do think that is a game to look forward to either late 2021 or early 2022. Moving on into Nintendo, again, we're about 1 hour-ish, 1:15 into the show, so we're not going to go too much longer for you guys listening, but we are going to touch on just a couple more of these games before we wrap up today. For Nintendo, I really don't know anything of what games are coming out this year. If I had to take some guesses, I think your new Pokemon Snap game will probably drop in 2021. Again, cult classic on the N64, really popular game. I think that one, we know it's coming back. We just don't know when. I'm thinking 2021, 2022 for that. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, I think could also drop this year. And last but not least, not a ton of teasers on it, but I think Metro Prime 4 as well. John, you and I both being Nintendo fans, is there one in particular that you're looking forward to the most of these 3 games?
I swear to whatever deity you pray to, that if there's a new Pokemon Snap, I will be buying the Nintendo Switch in a heartbeat. I absolutely loved Pokemon Snap on the 64. I thought it was absolutely great. You make it into a Snap game, I'm there. Simple as that. Not a Snap game, pardon me, a Switch game. I'm there. So ready for that.
Yeah, I think it's a huge win. I mean, Pokemon Snap was super popular. Do you remember like going to Blockbuster and printing out your snaps? Did you ever do that?
God. No, I was never dumb enough to print them out.
I printed them out.
I had a feeling
like,
you did.
You find that way, like there's the little hidden things that you can do in Snap where it's like, oh, if you throw this apple in this area and you do it 3 times before the Magikarp jumps, a Scyther is going to jump out. And then you snap that picture and you're like, yo, dude, I got a Scyther. Where's your Scyther picture at? But yeah, I just remember going to Blockbuster and printing those things out with that like exclusive partnership. Such a nerdy thing to do, but it was so cool back in the day.
No, and the funny thing is I remember that whole Scyther thing where you had to throw the 3 apples there. Because Scyther being my favorite Pokemon, that's all I would care about is just getting really awesome pictures of Scyther. But no, the game itself was it was so unique and different at that time. It was, I'm not gonna call it revolutionary or anything, but it was a nice take on Pokemon. It kind of felt like, you were in the Safari Zone in Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow, and instead of just hunting, you were kind of just on a safari and you were taking pictures. It was really, really cool. And they did amazing levels, amazing graphics for the 64. And it was just a really cool overall experience. I'm kind of curious to see how that would look in 21st century graphics, how it would play out on the Switch. And it would definitely be enough to make me plunge and buy a Switch. But Joey, Blockbuster, do you want to explain what a Blockbuster is for our younger audience? Since
I know, chat, chill over there. Blockbuster, guys, was a play. I cannot believe we have to explain this, but it's come to that in today's day and age. I think there is still one open like in Seattle or something.
That was the last
but overall, back in my day, you had to go into this store to rent them their VHS tapes. So yeah,
Oh,
a Blockbuster
God.
was a I'm sorry. Blockbuster was a place where you go in, you could buy DVDs, you could rent DVDs and VHS tapes depending on when you entered the Blockbuster here. But it was just it almost became like a social experience. Like, hey, it's a Friday night. The movies, there's no great movies out. Let's go rent something. So you go to this Blockbuster, maybe you rent a video game, maybe you rent a tape or a DVD. Go ahead and pick that up. It's like, hey, please have your rental back in 1 week. And you have all that time to go ahead and watch it. It was kind of like the Netflix before Netflix. When Netflix used to send DVDs, that's really what ended up kicking Blockbuster out of business, because then someone could say, hey, I don't even have to leave my house. I can just go ahead and order my Netflix online and I don't have to worry about going to the Blockbuster, the brick and mortar store. Since then, almost every Blockbuster has been shut down. Again, similar to what we're seeing with bookstores right now, with stuff like Kindle and Nook and all that really taking over that industry. But yeah, Blockbuster was a thing. And fun fact, you were able to print out those Pokemon Snap pictures there.
Joey, how often did you go to Blockbuster to rent a movie just to realize that all 12 copies have already been rented and you had to continue to wait on a wait list until one of them came back?
I mean, that was the worst, dude. Like, you
so
come out and it's like, oh, there's this hot movie. It's now at a Blockbuster. I could pay all this money for a DVD or a VHS tape, or I could just go to this Blockbuster, pick it up. But then, yeah, like you said, sometimes you get hit with that wait list and you're like, oh, do I want to pick out movie number 110 or 13 over here? Or do I want to just go for this game? Or it was a cool experience. It was like window shopping for movies and games. It was fun back in the day.
It was the weirdest thing ever. And I'm so glad streaming services are now a thing, because it's like,
I loved Blockbuster gift cards back in the day. Not even gonna lie.
I see.
Awesome.
I missed out on most of the Blockbuster fun because Blockbusters in Korea didn't exist. So when I came back stateside, it was the downfall of Blockbuster. Like, we even had Hollywood Video was the one that was like next to my house in my neighborhood. And that went out first, I believe. And then Blockbuster started going downhill also. But yeah, I just, I feel like I missed out on that craze quite a bit, because I got to experience Blockbuster, but not as much as some other people. It's kind of weird.
I'm sorry to hear that you missed out on that part of your childhood.
I'm not. Not one bit.
I'm sure we can find a way to get you to come over somewhere to go ahead and print out your Pokemon Snap pictures when it comes out later this next year. But for now, let's just dive into a couple more titles here for other games. Again, not under your big three of Xbox, Nintendo, or PlayStation, but a few other games to look toward. John, I'm just going to run through this list quick, and then we can dive into whatever you want to and wrap up today's show. Hitman 3 should be dropping sometime in January. Outriders is a big one. I've heard a lot of hype for this game. It's going to come out February 2021. Far Cry 6 is set for spring 2021. I will let you guys know it is set for April as of right now. Again, every one of these games has an asterisk, because anything can change in this COVID-19 era, slash COVID-20, depending on what they call this new strand. But it is one of those things where everything is a little bit of a fluid situation right now. Mass Effect Legendary Edition was set for February 2021. I can tell you now it is moved to spring. I believe it's going to be a May or June release on that one. Lego Star Wars has been delayed from February to May. So that's going to look at about a May 2021 release. New World is going to be that next big exclusive from Amazon. Again, we saw Amazon launch Crucible this year. It came out by 1 week. It was down to like 150 players, which is really sad for a new game release, especially backed by something as big as Amazon. They eventually moved it back into beta before canceling the thing completely. So this is going to be Amazon's next dive into gaming in a sense. With Luna releasing, now you have their next big title of New World coming out. That's set for spring 2021. Battlefield 6, it's not announced yet, guys, but it will be announced this year, and it will be coming out probably fall/holiday 2021. So keep an eye out for that one. Gotham Knights, also not announced with the release date. I can tell you guys it's most likely coming out fall 2021. It's currently scheduled for August. Do they keep up with that? Not 100% sure, depending again on COVID. Hogwarts Legacy, it's going to come out in fall 2021. It's currently set for an August/September release date. Again, I don't think that's public yet, but it is one of those things that they're currently looking at. It could move at any time. Resident Evil Village is another one set for this year. Stalker 2, we can now officially say it is coming out. The highly acclaimed Stalker 1, now Stalker 2 will be coming out, and it is going to be Xbox and PC exclusive. I think this is limited exclusivity, but the developer will not tell us if it is. I think that's probably some kind of NDA with Microsoft, because I would assume it goes to PlayStation later on. But at least for now, that one will be exclusive to Xbox and PC for its first year. Warhammer 40K, following up Vermintide. Darktide is coming out this year. It will be Xbox and PC exclusive. 12 minutes, voiced by Daisy Ridley, in that really interesting, intriguing game that Annapurna has given us a trailer for the last couple of years. It will be releasing this year as well. Xbox PC exclusive. Last but not least, Rainbow Six Quarantine, after being delayed last year, supposed to come out in March 2020. It has been delayed quite a bit. It will be coming out sometime in 2021. So those are some of the big games that I've picked out that I think we should really look forward to this year. John, are there any in particular that stick out to you on this list that you want to dive any more into?
Kind of. I know the one I'm really hyped for. When it was announced, I pretty much wanted to jump over my desk. Hogwarts Legacy. Anything Harry Potter, it feels like. It's going to be great. The fact that we're going to be able to just like go more in depth into this universe, that, you know, there hasn't been a Harry Potter movie. We're not going to include, you know, Fantastic Beasts or anything like that. Like, there hasn't been a Harry Potter movie because obviously, you know, 7.2 was the last one to come out. It was the last part of that, you know, book series made into movies. But it's one of those things where it feels like it's like Star Wars, where it's created this community that's just absolutely passionate about this universe. And these games coming out and allowing you to have these experiences, whether it's, you know, before the story of Harry Potter or after the story of Harry Potter, it kind of gives you that content that you really, really want, that kind of that fantasy, and trying to like being able to experience what Hogwarts would be like if you yourself were a real life Hogwarts student. So yeah, I think it's gonna be great. I have no idea what you're talking about. That story sucks. Thanks, Chipmunk. I know for a fact you're lying. You are a Ravenclaw, so it doesn't really matter anyway. Could be worse. You could be a Hufflepuff. So, you know, is what it is. But yeah, that's what I'm definitely looking forward to. Rainbow Six Quarantine. What a great name. What a very timely name. Quarantine. what we're going to do? Go around shooting the COVID virus? How can you shoot something that you can't see, but that will kill you either way? So that'll be interesting too. Let's see. I'm going to name one more. Lego Star Wars. Look, Lego kills it with a lot of their games. They have a very unique ability to take something like Star Wars, add some comedy to it, but also expand the lore, expand the story a little bit more. And the games are incredibly fun to play. You don't have to be a kid to play a Lego game, believe it or not. You don't have to. They mix in. So for the kids out there, when you become of age, go back and rewatch a lot of your favorite shows and movies, and you'll discover a lot of hidden humor that was put in there for your parents. It's absolutely insane to go back and watch some of your shows and be like, oh my God, they actually put that in there. Like, why I didn't pick on that as a kid. Why was that in there? You see the same thing in these Star Wars games. It's absolutely fantastic. Those are just a few that I'm looking out for here in 2021. Dirty Slytherin. Yeah, I know. Thank you, Chipmunk. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so John, you hit on most of the ones that I want to hit on. Hogwarts Legacy in particular, I think I'm looking forward to the most. I think that'll be a really cool game. On top of that, Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. This is going to be every bit of Lego Star Wars. All of those games, like, I don't even know how many games it was, like 8, 9 games that came out. This is going to include your episodes 1 through 9. It's going to include your Rogue One. Maybe it even includes stuff like Solo. It's all going to be dove in there. Maybe even some Mandalorian, who knows? But it's going to be a really cool game, and it's going to take a very long time to work through, and some really cool couch co-op capabilities within that game as well. As far as remakes go, I don't think it gets much better than Mass Effect, one of the coolest legendary trilogies that came out a couple years back. I believe it was Xbox 360 generation. Now diving forward, getting the ability to play a remastered version of that on console or PC, I think is going to be a really cool experience. So that one will be really good. Outriders, for some reason, everyone in the industry that I've talked to is hyping this game up a ton. They say it has tons of potential. I personally just don't know what to expect of it so far. But that, again, is a game coming out February 2020 that a lot of people are super excited for. So it might be worth checking out. It reminds me of Revenant from the Ashes a little bit. It kind of has like that 3-player co-op feel, that grinding for better loot. I really don't know what it's going to end up being like, but I've heard really high acclaim for it. Last but not least, I think the other big one for me is New World. This is Amazon once again putting their neck on the line, coming out there. I mean, it's not really much of a neck for them. They really can take loss wherever they want it. But it's one of those things where if they take another big game developed from their own studios and it doesn't really pop off, I think that's when Amazon opens the checkbook and says, hey, we're not going to compete. If we're not competing at the way we are now, we're just going to go ahead and buy someone. And I would not be surprised to see an Amazon come out and say, hey, we're going to buy you Ubisoft, or we're going to go ahead and buy you Sony or whatever. And I think that's one of those things that really could potentially shift the gaming industry depending on how that game ends up releasing. So definitely looking forward to seeing what happens with that one. Okay, John, last but not least, we got to wrap up today's show because we have gone pretty long for this good old New Year's episode. But before we leave, I just want to get your thoughts based on these games on the list. Again, not really knowing what's going to be delayed or what's not due to COVID right now. What do you think are your game of the year contenders potentially on this list?
Oh my. If God of War comes out in 2021, that is going to be a massive front runner. Horizon's going to be up there. Let's see here. Halo has a chance. Definitely think Halo has a chance there. Far Cry should be in the contention as well. Mass Effect probably. Let me see here. I'll leave it at those. Maybe Resident Evil. Maybe. But I really think your two big front runners, if they do come out this year, would be Horizon Forbidden West and God of War. Who knows? Maybe Ratchet and Clank might make a surprise appearance in there. With that new technology they're using in there for that whole Rift system they're using, that could definitely make an appearance as well. But I definitely think God of War and Horizon are going to be your two pretty big front runners.
Yeah, I think it just depends a little bit on that deadline. Again, it's sometime in November. I think like November 15th-ish is around the deadline that they cut off for the official Game Awards show. I'm going to say Cyberpunk will be one of your nominees this year. If Halo Infinite makes the deadline, Halo Infinite will definitely be on there. Horizon Forbidden West will be a definite title on there. God of War, if it releases, will be a title on there. And Starfield, if it releases, will be a title on there as well. Last but not least, for that sixth one, in my opinion, if it comes out, it will be Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. I think those are going to be your 6 nominees. Again, a few of them flirting with that line of possible 2022 / a little bit too late for 2021, depending on Starfield, God of War, and Breath of the Wild. But if everything does release before that deadline, I do think those are your 6 Game of the Year titles as of right now. And other than that, John, I think we can wrap up this giant New Year's show that went almost an hour and a half today. Really diving in. We took some time off the last couple of weeks due to the holidays. Then I got sick. Then John was in a wedding, and we had a bunch of stuff going back and forth. But we are back, ready for some great action in 2021. Unfortunately, 2020 was a very rough year for a lot of people. For OTN, we did see a lot of good growth, so we're excited to build upon that heading into 2021. And we hope to bring a lot of great content for you guys moving forward. Again, this is just a preview of what to expect potentially in this year to come. We should have a lot more fun news to talk about very soon.
I feel like Chad is unnecessarily picking on me for selecting multiple games out of that list. It's okay, Chad. It's okay. It's fine. It's whatever. I'm allowed to do that. Perks of being the host. I'm allowed to give multiple things like that. It's as simple as that. Almost as simple as closing the show up for today. Nation, that is going to do it for this edition of LvLUp Live. But before you go, head over to patreon.com/OTN and consider becoming a part of the Overtime Network. In return, you will get access to exclusive content that nobody else in the world can get unless they are a part of OTN Media. If you haven't already done so, make sure you're following the show here on Twitch to catch the next episode of LvLUp Live. If you listen to the show on our podcast feed, leave us a review. LvLUp Podcast is available on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. We would love to hear from you. We enjoy all kinds of feedback, positive, negative, critical. Feedback is feedback. We like it. So please do leave us some information there. We love to hear from all of our community members. So much we have multiple ways you can reach out to us. Joey, what are those ways that our listeners can reach out to us?
LvLUp Nation, head on over to the good old Twitter and find us at LvLUp Live. That is LvLUp Live. We'll go ahead and post those in chat as well. On top of that, you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook, as well as Instagram at OTN Media. On Instagram, slightly different. We throw an underscore in there. It's at OTN_media. Last but not least, hit us up with a follow, maybe a like, maybe even a Twitch Prime sub on Twitch. You can find us at twitch.tv/OTN Media. Great shows and content throughout the week. This show, LvLUp Podcast, Mondays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Catch you next time.
All right, make sure you tune in this Thursday, the 7th of January, as we cover the latest and greatest in gaming esports news. Do your ears and eyes a favor, hit that sub and follow button to know when the next episode of LvLUp Live is ready for your viewing pleasures. We'll catch you all on Thursday. Have a great week. Remember, be nice to your fellow gamers online. And as always,
Level up.